Hi, everybody. Welcome to Goshen Prepping. I've been prepping for decades, literally decades, and I have made some whoppers of mistakes. And you know what? The best way to learn about that is tell you some of the things I've done so you don't fall for those same mistakes as well. In fact, I have 19 prepper tips you're going to want to look through. And with this, stick through all of them because these are very realistic things that happen to us all as preppers. Let's jump into it. Number one, you need to keep your focus on the important things. You need to focus on why you prep and always keep that in focus. What is that reason, by the way? Is it just you for survival? Maybe you have a family. Maybe you want to help out your friends. Well, either way, you want to make sure you keep your focus in mind and not get caught up in the fear of prepping, but always that goal of surviving. Number two, do not go into debt. Because when we see crap hitting the fan, we see economic downturns, we see an economic collapse. And if you're in debt, that could be catastrophically dangerous. I mean, honestly, in reality, you should try to get out of debt if possible, especially when it comes to like your house. But definitely don't go into debt when it comes to prepping. Number three, be patient. Do not get emotional. And especially when it comes to buying gear, because wow, isn't there like so much prepping gear you could get? And some of it's quite pricey, quite expensive. So don't get emotional. Just go over and buying all these crazy things. Don't fall into that. Don't go blow your money. But even more so, if you do have a piece of gear you want to get, make sure you check the reviews and see if that piece of gear is actually worth it and is going to work for you. Number four, store plenty of water. And speaking with lots and lots of preppers, I find they focus more on food than they do water. And it kind of makes sense. It's easy to grab food, but people neglect the water part, which you absolutely can't do. In a lot of ways, water is more vital than food. Now, when it comes to storing water, there's lots of ways to do it. Take it from me, we've actually gone through many weeks without water, sometimes in our house up here in the middle of nowhere, Michigan. A gallon per person per day is bare minimum. And you want to be able to have like giant drums of water, or obviously ways to replenish your water, be it rainwater catchment, or maybe you have like a stream or creek nearby and you have an activated charcoal filter, whatever you do. Now, your jugs are also important. Don't use like those little milk jugs. They seem to be nice, right? For $1, whatever it is, even less than $1, but those things break easy. But either way, don't neglect water. Make sure you have lots of it. Number five, do not buy food your family won't eat. And I'm certainly guilty of this. I remember there's a time years and years ago, spicy manwich sauce was on sale. It's like half price at the grocery store. I like spiciness. I like manwiches, so why not buy lots of them, in which I did. Oh boy, I really got tired very quickly of the spicy manwich sauce, which in my opinion, they weren't all that tasty to begin with. So anyways, make sure you buy stuff that you're going to eat. Number six, be diversified in your food storage. I find that brand new preppers, including myself, often buy things like lots and lots of freeze-dried food. I'm not knocking freeze-dried food. We have lots of it, and there's certainly a really good place for it in your preps, but there's definitely other things you could buy to save a lot of money instead of just simply jumping in one direction. So diversify. Get dried beans, dried rice, canned food, freeze-dried food. There's so many different things available that we can choose from. Number seven, have a place for your storage. And I would actually take it to the level of saying you need to prepare a place specifically for your storage. There's been many times in our life where we've stocked up on certain things and it ends up being in a hallway or an aisleway or someplace. Actually, it could be dangerous if you're trying to escape your house and it kind of builds up and overloads you. So make sure you have like shelves put in place or whatever you need to make sure you have a place for your stores when they come into your house. And on that note, you need to protect your preps. There is nothing worse or more disheartening than you spending your good hard-earned money on some kind of prep, some kind of food or stockpiling, and rodents get into it, or some kind of other pest or mold, water damage, or even more so, it spoils. That's always such a bummer. So make sure you have a way to keep all your preps protected. And nine, there is way more than just simply storing food and water. And I admit food and water should be your first thing you should jump into when it comes to prepping. But when it comes to gear, when it comes to security, when it comes to protecting yourself, drilling and training and practicing, at a certain point will actually take over simply just storing stuff. You want to focus a lot of your attention on those things as far as getting ready for what's coming. At the very least, turn off the breaker to your house for a few days and see if you can make it through. What are you going to be missing? Number 10, be sure to focus on hygiene and sanitation. And I picture the apocalypse is going to be one smelly time coming. Now, 90% of people, would you agree? Over 90% of the people don't prep. People who don't have simply just bars of soap and trying to keep clean, even just bars of soap. It's a great prep to have. Obviously, prep a lot of that and other type of cleaning agents too, because you want to be able to sanitize as well. Not simply just about hygiene and smelling good, but fighting off disease, always a good thing. Now, when it comes to this, you have to always worry about sanitation too. Very first, you have to understand towns and cities, sewage will often back up if there's a power grid going down. You need to find a way to stop that so it doesn't come in. Not to mention, what are you going to do with your sewage? Possibly dig an outhouse. That's what a lot of people do. So you're going to have to think about doing that and also find a place for all your waste products like empty cans. You can't just throw them in the trash. There is no garbage man anymore. So possibly bury that stuff too. Come up with a plan now. And 11, do not tell anyone about your preps. And people, we're social. We like to talk with other people who are like-minded. And you meet somebody, you're like, oh, wow, I get you. Hey, I'm a prepper. How about you? And they're like, wait, what are you talking about? It's easy to let the cat out of the bag. You need to refrain from doing this as much as possible because these people who don't prep, who is like-minded like you think they are, when crap hits the fan, they're the ones that's going to be knocking at your door wanting some of your food. You have to be ready, so don't let them know in the first place. Number 12, get and stay in shape. I find this is often overlooked, or maybe people are even burying their head in the sand. What do you think? But it took me a few years to get in the shape I want to be in. I used to be really, really heavy. I literally couldn't walk anywhere without getting winded. I started having problems with my body. I've talked about this on the channel before, and now I do really well. I mean, granted, my weight still goes up and down sometimes, and I still struggle with a couple things, but now I have all these medals from doing martial arts and stuff. I didn't get these from when I was young. That's from this year alone. You can do it too. You don't have to get into martial arts to get in shape, but there's so many ways you can do it. In fact, if you're older and your body can't handle it, just simple swimming or going for walks is a great way to get in shape. But you need to do it now to be ready because when that time comes, it's going to be very energy dependent and physically challenging. Number 13, please don't assume that having weapons will automatically keep you safe. And if you didn't know it, shooting is not as easy as they make it look on TV. It's quite this difficult skill to master. I mean, it's fun. I love mastering the skill. But a lot of people miss their targets, not to mention if they didn't train and drill for it, their target is going to be moving. They're going to be moving. Adrenaline's going to be flowing through the body. Their hands are going to be shaking. So many things come into play. Possibly they'll be shooting back at you. So you need to train tactically for this and not simply just assume, oh, I have a weapon, I have a gun, it's going to save my life. Because more than likely, it's not going to. 14, you have to have a plan to get home. Maybe you're just 10 minutes down the road at a grocery store. It's pretty easy. You could possibly walk. What happens if you're 30 minutes away or an hour or a couple hours away? When I go to tournaments for martial arts, I always have a get-home bag. I always have strategy and techniques. I always make sure that at the very least, I'm going to have enough gas to get back. That's even my band keeps running. So we always look at contingencies and what we might have to do. Having a get-home bag, which is a video coming up soon, by the way. I'm going to show you the things you want to have in your get-home bag is always important. But it's more than just having stuff. It's having the mentality, calculating how many miles, if it's this many miles, am I able to walk that distance coming back? Always keep that in mind because, of course, your house is your fortress, and you always want to get back here where your preps are as soon as you can when crap hits the fan. 15, do not make assumptions about what will happen. You need to make sure you don't hyper-focus on one area. I mean, maybe one area at a time for a week. Okay, now I'm going to focus on this area, now this one, then this one. That's okay. But people often focus on one area. Oh, it's going to be an EMP. Maybe. Oh, it's going to be World War III. Maybe. It very well could be both. And there's so many different possibilities of what's coming. You want to make sure you always, brainstorm and look at all the possible things that might affect you and your family. 16, and make sure you test everything before crap hits the fan. And there's two ways you can test, by the way. The first one is testing your gear. I like testing the gear. I think it's fun. I enjoy going out, especially in the summer, doing some camping, get all the gear out, put it to good use and see how well it works. And that's just me. I'm an outdoors kind of guy. But it's also testing information too, especially in the prepping community. You always need to look at information coming in and be skeptical when you hear things. You should do that because skepticism will make you thoroughly look into something. And if you skeptically look at it and realize, oh no, this really is true, that shows you even more that there's something coming. But I find often people will completely take one little thing and run with it when that really is not the big deal. So always test intelligence coming in, test anything coming in as far as news goes, but test your gear too. Next is 17, you need to slow down, breathe, take baby steps. Thinking with a level head is what's going to get you through this. I don't care if it's calm and relaxed right now, or if you're in the middle of a battle or people pounding on your door, always calm down and breathe. Really, just take a deep breath through your nose. Hold it for 2 seconds. Breathe it out through your mouth. before you react. You'll be amazed in how well that's going to help you out. Because if you start getting caught up with emotions, I don't care if it's emotions of, oh, I need to buy this gear, or emotions of, like what the news said, or emotions of, oh my gosh, somebody's pounding on my door, that confusion is going to cause more problems in the long run for you. And unless you actually do it level-headedly, that's the way it should be. Everything, by the way, nice level head, you're going to have mistakes, and those mistakes could cost your life. Number 18, the end of the world is not tomorrow. This whole prepping thing, as we call it, is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Because honestly, other channels want you to think you need to stock up on this tomorrow because the world's going to end tomorrow. That's not true at all. You're going to have some time. There's always some time. Don't procrastinate. I'm certainly not saying that. But you know what? It's a marathon. Today I'm going to do this. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. Breathe, relax. The next day I'm going to do this, and continue to prepare for all this. Prepare for this long haul. Because it's not simply just buying corned beef for your basement. It's about buying corned beef, knowing how to prepare it, look for the future, self-sustainability in the long run. And finally, number 19, you are not alone. And it may seem that way with you. Maybe you're alone in a house, or maybe it's just you and another person, and you think, oh my gosh, we're the only one who have mindsets like this. No, there's lots of us. Especially, trust me, as a channel, I get countless emails every single day, and I try to respond to them. Sometimes they're so long, I don't have time to. But if people just do a quick email and say, hey, I live in such and such, and I'm a prepper, I'm like, great. I respond back and tell them good morning, and we need to stick together as a community. There's way more than us than you think there are. I'm not even going to say we're a silent majority. When it comes to like political part and rights of the country and stuff, yeah, we're a silent majority. But when it comes to prepping, there's a lot of us. But of course, being prepping, you want to be silent about that. But there's a lot of us. You are certainly not alone. In fact, I was amazed, even when we moved here in Michigan, on our street years ago, there's people on our street who've been watching our channel. They're like, oh my gosh, you now live on our street. There are preppers everywhere. All right, so guys, I've made some mistakes, and there's certain things I've got caught up in as far as I shouldn't have, as far as getting anxious or whatever the case may be. I'd like to hear your story. Put it in the comments below. What are some things you've done as a prepper, and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Don't be embarrassed. We've all done it. So put it in the comments so we can all learn from that. And guys, as always, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.